Okay, Year 9, welcome to rounding. It's pretty straightforward, so let's listen up. When we're talking about rounding, we can either round by decimal places or significant figures. So there's going to be two things we're looking at in this tutorial. Okay, when we're talking about rounding to a certain number of decimal places, how do we do that? So if our question says, please round this number to 2 decimal places, you go to the number in the figure in the second decimal place and you leave it as it is. If the next digit to the right of it is 4 or less, or you round it up, increase it by 1 if the next digit is 5 or more. Guys, you've been doing this since Year 7, this shouldn't be too hard. So let's have a look at a few examples here. Let's look at this guy first. Okay, so it's 256.1793. Now, this is the thing. Say I want this to 2 decimal places. Okay, so 2 decimal places. So I go, right, here's my decimal point, here's decimal place 1. Okay, here's my second decimal place. Okay, I look to the critical digit, or the digit directly to the right. In my definition there, it said if it was 5 or more, I round up. So my number becomes 256.1, and I increase 7 by 1 to get 18. Easy as that. This is not rocket science, guys, and you should be used to it. Say, for example, I had the same question, okay, and it said round to 1 decimal place. Here's my decimal point, okay, I can see here this is my first decimal place. I locate it. I look to the critical digit to my right. My definition tells me if it's 5 or more, I round up, so I add 1 to my 1. It then becomes 256.2. This is not tricky, guys, okay? Next example, just in case you want another one, say 3 decimal places. Round this to 3 decimal places. Okay, so I go, here's my decimal point, here's decimal place 1, 2, here's the third one right here, okay? What do? I look to the critical digit right next to it. So it is less than 4, which means my number stays the same, okay, or I round down. So my number becomes 4.897. That is that number rounded to 3 decimal places. So, main thing you have to do is look at what is the question asking you. Is it 1? Is it 2? Is it 3? Is it 4? How many decimal places do they want? Find the figure in that decimal place, look to the critical digit, and either round up or round down.
So my answer is the same as saying 300 divided by 2. It's 150.
Does take a little bit of practice, okay? It does take a little bit of practice.
Okay,
Don't
let's
fret.
just have a
but
look
see
at
by
some of
doing
this
it
other
like
stuff
this
that we've got here. Whoops.
and estimating. That is a whole lot easier than doing it like that.
What's my other example that I have here?
All you need to be able to do is to get into
Other
the practice of rounding this number here into
Big
that
long
number
number
there.
sentence.
Really
This
big
number
long
here
number sentence. Into that number
So
there.
I've got
you need to work on your rounding
345
skills.
plus
Okay? And that's it. That's
8906
estimation.
minus 23 plus 147. That's pretty hard to do in my head. Okay? Pretty hard to do in my head.
So, I need to round it in order to estimate. So, it becomes 300 plus 9,000 minus 20 plus 400. Okay? Then, that's pretty easy to do. It becomes 9,300 minus, what have I got? Sorry, 420. Really easy to do now, guys. Now, this is something you may not have heard of, and it's called rounding to significant figures. Significant figures is you use exactly the same rounding principle, it's just different to decimal places. So if I need to round a number to a required number of significant figures, I start on the left of my number and I move to the right. Oh, I'm sensing a pattern in some things we're learning. Left to right, always. So I start on the left and I move to the right. Now, commonly, I won't have a number that starts with a 0, but just in case I do, I've put the definition in here for you. You find the first non-zero digit. That first one that you find is the first significant figure, which means the second non-zero digit from left to right is the second, and then the third, and then the fourth, and so on and so forth. Now, once you've found the significant figure that the question's asking you, you look to the critical digit next to it, exactly as we did with decimal places. If it's 5 or more, you round up or you add 1, or you round down if it's 4 or less and the digit stays the same. This is the different bit. Whereas with decimal places, we just cut off the rest of the number, we need to place zeros. Okay, we need to place zeros in the other spots to the right. Now, we need some examples because all of this is sounding a bit too complicated. So, let's have a look. I've kept the same numbers, okay? I've kept this number here. Okay, so my question, say for example, is asking me to round it to 3 significant figures. Okay, 3 significant figures. So I start on the left, and here's my first. That's my first non-zero digit. Here's my second, and here is my third. Okay, so what do? There is my significant figure. I look to the right to the critical digit. It is less than 4, so my answer becomes 256.00. Okay, how did I get that? I replaced these two here with zeros, and I look to my third significant figure. I look to the critical digit, and sorry, that was meant to go to the 1. Oh, it's getting a bit ugly. Okay. I look to the significant figure that the question was asking me. I look to the critical digit to its right, and I either round it up, or in this case I round it down, and my digit stays the same. Let's have a look at another example. Okay, dokey, what can we do here? Okay, actually let's keep the same one. We're going to work with this. Say for example, it asks you to round to 1 significant figure. I start on the left, I move to the right. There's my first significant figure. Okay, there's the first guy. It wants it to 1 significant figure. I found my figure, I look to the critical digit. That critical digit is 5. When it's 5 or more, I round up. So that 2 becomes a 3, and my answer is 300.00. Okay, really straightforward, guys. Let me just delete this, and we'll have a look at maybe 2 significant figures. Okay, I particularly put this question in here because this one's a little bit more tricky. Okay, remember that definition, the first non-zero value. That question, it didn't really make sense. Why is Mr. Corsi going about non-zero values? Here's an example where it'll work. 1 significant figure. I start on the left, and I move to the right. Let's go. 0 figure, no. 0 figure, no. 4. That is my first significant figure, okay? Not significant figure. There you go, second significant figure. That's my first, that's my second. This guy is my third, okay? So if this question was asking me to round to 1 significant figure, my answer would be 0.0. I look to the critical digit, okay? It's less than 5, so my answer is 400. And that's it, guys. That is rounding with decimals and significant figures.